All right, you hear me talk about HBOT4Heroes a lot, and it is, I really think, one of the most worthy things happening around us right now. It is something that I think you really need to pay attention to, particularly here in our area where we have so many veterans and so many military bases. A lot of guys are coming home from their military service with PTSD and traumatic brain injury. They go to the VA and get pumped full of drugs, but the reality of it is that there is a better way, and we're going to talk about that this morning. And we're also going to talk about the fact that Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, is coming to North Carolina to promote this HBOT therapy, which, by the way, stands for hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Ed DiGirolamo is in the studio with me. I met Ed this summer. He is the executive director of HBOT4Heroes. He and I have a very close mutual friend in Travis Burt. And Ed made the drive down from Cary this morning to make this big announcement about Mike Pompeo and to talk about HBOT4Heroes. Morning, sir. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for driving down. It's good to see you. Tell us a little bit about your mission and HBOT4Heroes. I know Travis has gotten heavily involved in it, but and my friend, you and I have another mutual friend, Jim Hooker, who brought this HBOT therapy idea to me years ago, and I got him involved with Congressman Murphy and some other folks, and we've gotten some legislation passed. But it's a pretty amazing thing, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And, you know, there's some amazing folks behind it. And for me, the journey's about 10 years. And we've reached to a point at this time that I've personally seen about 100 veterans with serious PTSD and other ailments essentially get cured, and I would say substantially improved. But the whole project is to really reduce and God knows to eliminate the suicide rate among veterans. It's about 2.5 times that of the general public, and as I understand it, a lot of it is due to the inflammatory effects of traumatic brain injuries and the stress that they endured serving our country. And so HBOT4Heroes was born to do basically two things. Number one, identify those veterans. You know, we know they're suffering. You know, their spirits have been hammered. You know, and what they're dealing with, I think the inflammatory effects of this condition is very difficult. You know, to go day to day, not sleeping, and dealing with the stress that creates, the anxiety, the depression. Then the psychotropic drugs are put on, and you know the sort of the coping mechanisms we say that they're provided, and they're not provided relief. And so hyperbaric oxygen provides that relief. And so I have seen firsthand just tremendous turnaround from the suffering.
We've had them in here. Jim has actually had some of the guys that have gone through the therapy come in here, and the stories that we hear from them are, I was abusing alcohol, I was fighting with my wife every day. I was inhibited. I was depressed. I wanted to kill myself. That's probably the story you hear all the time. I mean, I can't identify with that, but I've never, number one, I don't have military service. Number two, I don't know what in their military service leads them to that, but there's no doubt that it's a fact. And when they go to the VA wants to fill them full of pharmaceuticals. And then this HBOT therapy has come along and found to be, I mean, am I right? Like 98% effective with these guys.
Yeah, that's what we say 98% because, you know, 100% is going to give you a target on your back. Yeah. But I would tell you to a person, I've not seen it not give them tremendous relief and improvement. You know, they're not going to the state fair. They're kicking the dog and yelling at their kids. And after the first few treatments, they start sleeping through the night and they sort of, their spirit is not under attack quite so much.
What kind of response have you gotten from the medical community? Is this becoming to be embraced at this point or not?
It's a challenge. You know, one of the things that for me was difficult, when I learned about this over 10 years ago, I was very skeptical. You know, I tend to be that personality, prove it to me. And one of the things that I've, found over time is that unfortunately, the medical schools have not embraced it. So doctors are not taught it, and they're not really taught to read research. And so you can give them the research, and if I could appeal anything to the medical community and the doctors out there, is to learn to read the research. Go up on PubMed, read about hyperbaric oxygen. There's 5,000 publications right on our, NIH PubMed.
Well, we do have a very prominent med school right here in Greenville. Maybe someone could take that up as a project.
Yeah, if they just teach them how to read the research. I mean, it's like that. I mean, I'm a structural engineer. I started reading the research, and there's a wealth of information and proof out there that this is effective, and it's the most powerful anti-inflammatory there is. And when you can really recognize the fact that that our brain, allows us the freedom of choice. Mm-hmm. And when our brain is suffering for so long in dark rooms and all the things you see some of these traumatic brain injury soldiers dealing with, this PTSD is causing them to take their lives, and it destroys their spirit. And so we need to reach out to them. That's part, a big part of our project is to reach out to them, to give them the hope that these veterans that go through the program see almost instantly. Hope returns, and they get their lives back. And so, for me, there's nothing more rewarding than to be involved with the people that I'm involved in the project, like Travis and Jim and Melissa and Mike, these, group of North Carolinians that have worked on this for 10 years to bring this forward. And now to have Secretary Pompeo support it and to come in and speak on it. It's quite an honor.
We're going to talk about the details on the Pompeo visit here in a minute, but let me ask you, first of all, if you're just joining us, this is Ed DiGirolamo. Ed is a friend of mine from Cary. He is the executive director of HBOT4Heroes. Our mutual friend Travis Burke put us together this summer, and so the work that HBOT4Heroes is doing is just amazing to me. But again, the proof is in talking to the guys that have done it. The guys that I have met. I've met veterans who literally told me I'd be dead without it because I seriously was considering suicide before I got into the HBOT therapy, the hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Give us a little, don't go into deep detail, but tell us a little bit about how it works. I mean, these guys, you actually get in a chamber, correct?
You do. You get in the chamber. The clinic that the veterans in North Carolina are being treated at is right near RDU, near the airport. There's two 12-seat chambers. So you're in there with up to as many as 11 other individuals. Could be veterans and people from the general public. And you essentially go under pressure. Pressure is like if you're a scuba diver, it's the equivalent of a 33-foot dive. A little bit of pressure, and you breathe pure oxygen. That oxygen goes into your blood plasma, and it creates a tremendous anti-inflammatory effect on your whole body, your brain. And so there really is nothing other than time to heal the brain. And when you have a TBI, hyperbaric oxygen is almost instantaneous. In fact, we've treated Carolina Hurricane players that have had major concussions, and 2-3 treatments when it's acute, when it's just happened, they're cured. And so the soldiers are dealing with it in a chronic condition. And so it takes a little longer. It takes them about 40 treatments. It's about 90 minutes for a treatment. They sit there, they have their own computer. They're basically watching a movie, or they're doing email or whatever they want to do while they're getting the treatment. And so we can get through that in about 8 weeks. And then the veterans, go off in their new truck or their Harley or whatever they really wanted to do, because hope's returned, their family's back, and life is good.
So it costs money to treat these veterans, and that's what HBOT4Heroes is all about, not only seeking out these guys and helping them, but also raising money to get them the therapy. And so there are ways to do that, and sponsoring a veteran is one of the ways. I want you to talk about that, but you've got a big event coming up, and you've talked Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, into coming into Greenville, into Raleigh. You've got an evening of Bravery coming up on March 1st, and Mike Pompeo is going to be there as the keynote speaker. Tell us about the event and how we can be there and meet Mike Pompeo.
Yeah, well, so if you go up on HBOT4Heroes, and the 4 is the number 4, and you get all the information on the event and learn about. Learn about Mike Pompeo. He's got, we have his resume up there. He's Army, West Point grad. He's a true patriot. Now, we are so blessed to have Secretary Pompeo be part of what we're doing here. And so it's an evening of bravery. We'll have veterans that have been through the program as part of it in there. So we're trying to integrate them with each table. So you can buy a table, you can sponsor it. For us, HBOT4Heroes was formed because one of the biggest issues is the distance it takes to get to RDU for many of the North Carolinians there's 100,000 veterans. They probably could use this in the state. And so to get them to a facility within 45 minutes of where they live is our mission. And so we're looking at 21 locations in the state to open up a clinic similar to the one that's out by RDU. And that's
awesome.
That's our mission. And so Mike, Secretary Pompeo is helping us kick off this fundraising event to find sponsors and just bring awareness to the veterans that there's hope.
And if you haven't ever, it's going to be at the Angus Barn Pavilion. If you've never been to the Angus Barn Pavilion, it's worth going to see that. That's a beautiful facility. It's not the Angus Barn. It's down the hill and over the bridge. I've been there many times. They opened that years ago. My friends own the Angus Barn, and they've done an amazing job with that. And it's a beautiful facility. I understand my buddy David Crabtree is going to be your host, your MC that night.
Yeah, we're blessed to have David Crabtree.
Yeah, David's a good guy. So March 1st at the Angus Barn Pavilion. It starts at 5:30 in the afternoon. It's called an Evening of Bravery. And people can be there. They just go to HBOT4Heroes and get more detail. HBOT, number 4Heroes.org, and that's where you can get information about attending, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else do you want to mention that I haven't asked you? We're almost out of time here.
Yeah, if there's one message that I could give out there is to if you're a veteran, I know you guys are tough and you're suffering. If you've ever just crossed your mind about checking out. Don't do it. Do this because it's gonna give you your brain back, and gonna give you some great thoughts and hope, and I hope you take that and run with it and look it up.
I hope that. I'm glad you said that. Two separate occasions after we've talked about this on the air, I've been contacted personally by a veteran, and we've connected them with you guys. So, or with Jim Hooker.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. If somebody's listening this morning and you're suffering through this and you haven't tried hyperbaric oxygen therapy, get in touch with us. You can find Ed on HBOT4Heroes.org, or you can contact me.
A Duke study just showed 44 a day taking their lives.
Yeah.
We got to stop it. And if you're a veteran thinking about checking out, you got to help us stop it. You stop it.
Good to see you, man.
Okay.
Thanks for driving down. Great to see you.
Thank you, Henry.
Ed DiGirolamo from HBOT4Heroes. We'll continue to talk more about this and the Mike Pompeo event coming up.